Alrighty, everyone. Good morning. And we have with us today Sybil online. We've got Fatima. And he must be Joey? No, Joey? No. Eddie? Eddie, yeah, there we go. All right. So we've got Eddie and Fatima. Which Eddie? Eddie M. Yeah. That's what. Oh. Okay. Like you guys must have switched haircuts or something since your pictures are taken. All right. So guess where's here? Melanie is online. Axel is not. Giselle is online. Emily is online. Christian is online. Jasmine is not. Jonathan is online. Nui is online. Other is not. Then let's get started. A little bit of a few words of wisdom from It's a Wonderful Life here. Just a reminder of the impact you can have on the lives around you. Today we are talking about notes. Making them, taking them, writing them down, saving good stuff for later. And let's see, I'm going to start with the blank template here. Okay? Have you guys heard of Cornell Notes before? Have you used Cornell Notes before? Yes, I've got a couple nods here in the room. Good. All right, so then this should be relatively Easy, right? The idea behind Cornell Notes is that it's organizing your page into sections so that you can better organize your notes. And that organization is helpful in remembering stuff. Okay? Because your brain, believe it or not, works with structures. The more structures, the more your brain enjoys things. Okay? So, I have created a template for Math Cornell Notes, and it's pretty much the same as you'll see regular Cornell Notes. The big difference here is I have added this dot grid in the notes section, so that if you want to line up your text, you can, but also if you wanted to draw something freehand and graph something, it's very useful that way. This template is posted on Google Classroom. I put it under the classwork for today. I'll also add it to the class material, so it'll be right there at the top section of the classwork tab. So you can always find it if you ever want to print one off. I believe I still have some here from last year. Yes, I need to get some more. So if you want a hard copy, you can do that. Again, you've got to keep a hard copy notebook some fashion. So if you would like to either pick up a sheet, print off a sheet, for those of you at home, if you have a time set where you come by the school to pick up papers, I can have some of these available. You can just grab a stack of them and have your supply for the month, if that would work for you. Otherwise, you can just draw the sections out in your notebook with your own pen. Right? All right, lots of people trickling in. Okay. Look, we got Axel. Made it. Good. And okay. All right, thanks for joining us. Okay, so real quick, the sections themselves, I have labeled them here. You're going to start with the topic or section of the book that you are taking notes on, right? So it'll be Discovering Geometry, Chapter 0.2, right? Section 3.5. And then give that title, Triangle Properties, whatever it is, right? Give me the whole version, as much here as you can. Right? Then, of course, your name, date, period, your own information. That'll be more important when I go to check these at every time. And then under the topic is the essential question for the text. And this one can be difficult to fill in ahead of time. It might be something you actually don't fill in until the very end, because you haven't read it yet. You don't know what it's talking about. But if we look at, there's our text from before. Right? Sometimes you can get an idea based on, the title and the ideas presented here in the opening paragraph. This book often has a quotation that is sometimes related. Maybe you can like, what's this with the line design? Okay, what's the essential question is how to use lines, how to symmetry and pattern make geometric designs appealing, right? Maybe that's your essential question, right? And you might adapt that as you go. So that's something maybe fill in at the end. But you put it at the top of the page so that when you review your notes, you can see, oh, this is what this is asking. This is the big, final exam question that I should be able to write up an answer for based on this section. It doesn't say template, but it's the same thing. All right. And then we have on the right-hand side, over here, the giant notes area, and that is where you'll do most of your notes. The usual note-taking strategies apply here, okay? Use bullet points, okay? Summarize. short and sweet. Do not write down entire sentences straight out of the text. You're trying to take multiple pages from the book and reduce it down to one page, ideally. Maybe there'll be a large section where you'll actually want 2 pages, especially if you do a lot of drawing or graphs, it'll take up a lot of space. But try to condense as much as possible. Okay? All of the most critical of details go here, but not every little piece. Remember, your notes are not the catalog of everything. Your notes are there to help jog your memory. It works with your brain, not instead of. Okay. And then on the left-hand side here, we have the cues and questions column. So this is where you'll take your notes on the right and you'll shorten them even further into cues, kind of like the section headings within the chapter of a book. Oh, well, here's the book bit about this piece, and then here's the bit about this piece. Right? So those would be examples of various cues you could use, shortcuts to jog your memory. So when you're flipping through at the end of the semester, studying for the final exam, like, okay, where's the bit about, oh, here's the section on triangles. And I need, you'll look down this column, finding median line. There's the thing I need. Okay, what do my notes say about the median line? I don't remember that. You'll read about it. You'll see the diagram. Okay, that's what it is. Right? So it's an indexing tool. In addition, you put questions here that you'll ask yourself about the content, either as you go, afterwards. And this can be questions you don't know the answer to, and questions you do. Right? And I recommend putting questions you do know the answer to in this column for study purposes. Because this is the secret, right, to education. You want to know the secret to doing well on a test. Hot tip. Ask yourself what I would be asking you. Right? Try to think to yourself, okay, I just read this section. If I was to write a test about this, what kind of question would be on there? Right? Try to think like the teacher and anticipate them. And then you put that question here. And now when you're studying for the test, you read through it and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good question. I better know the answer to that one. Right? And you'll find more often than not, it is very rewarding to already anticipate those kinds of things. So when you're studying your notes, you can quickly find things by topic based on the cues and by potential questions you'll encounter later by writing them here. And then the very bottom is the most important part. In my opinion, the 2 big factors that make Cornell notes is one, the 2-column thing. And then second is summary. Write out a summary. Okay? Take all the information. Yes, your notes was already a condensed version. I want you to condense it even further and write a short paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences, that answers the essential question. And as I said, maybe you don't come up with the essential question until afterwards. Now you've got an idea. Oh, this is all about that one. And so you'll write it out as an essential question. And then you'll answer your own question there in the summary. All right? That's the process. That's how the notes will look. And I have an example for you here. Right? So I created this in January. I had classes in periods 1, 2, and 3 there. So here's the section. Building blocks of geometry. It's a reword of the title. What are the base components of geometry? Base components and building blocks. It means kind of the same thing. So it's not like the essential question is going to be some super insightful, deep philosophical thing. Okay? And then I have my notes here, and I highlighted the new vocabulary, and wrote out their definitions, and drew the diagrams. That, oh, well, these 3 things go together, and they are the 3 building blocks. So I made that my cue here. Right? And then I got to, as I'm doing these, and they talk about having length and width, but no thickness. stretching out to infinity, I thought to myself, well, what if you did go to infinity, but like all of them, right? What would you call that? You had infinite length, width, and thickness. That was just something I wondered about while I was reading that. Right? And then it continues on, and I'm like, okay, what's the pattern here? How can I summarize this even shorter? Like, well, it's more definitions, right? And so I put that there. But that was also important because this section, I believe, introduced like how to form geometry definitions like that. So that was part of it as well. But you could summarize there. I made a note on, hey, here's the notation. Watch this as I'm defining what this congruence thing means. I'm calling out on the symbols. Right? That's another cue to look for. And then finally, at the end, I summarized in answering my essential question, what are the basic components of geometry? Well, it's built of points, lines, and planes. We can find their relationships with specific notation, and measurement will determine congruence. So I've got that. Congruence was a big idea in there. Right? Measurement was a big idea. So I covered all the things talked about in the section. Down to 3 sentences. So your goal today will actually be to read this section, 1.1, and create your own version of the notes from it. Right? Yes, it's going to contain a lot of the same information that I have here. Fully aware of that. All right? It should look pretty close. So you have an example to go to. We're taking it slow, baby steps, right? I want you to see exactly what you should end up with. But don't look at this for too long. In fact, that's all the preview you get, right? Yes, it's posted on Google Classroom. Please, please, please resist the temptation to just copy my notes. That will not do you any good. If all you do is copy my notes, you'll have no idea how to create your own notes this weekend. Okay? Practice doing it yourself. Go through the process once. Then, after you've done yours, after you've answered and filled in the whole thing, then check mine. Be like, okay, did I cover it? How well did I interpret that text? Did I get all of the major pieces? Okay? That's what I want you to compare to. Now, the other component, the other piece I posted there is this. And this is a 5-step process for creating those notes in the first place. From start to finish. Not just, okay, here's the template, read the thing and fill it out. No. I'm going to give you a little more guidance than that. And again, this is based on factual studies of how minds operate, how people learn stuff. Please trust the system. Right? It will help you. The downside is it will take more time. But a little bit of practice, and it actually will not be as bad because you'll save time at the end. Because you won't have to flip back through because you've forgotten everything. So, here's the process. Start by reading the section title. Okay? And then think about that. Don't just read it and zip on. Okay? Pause for like 5 seconds. Okay, what is that section about? What does that title mean to you? Sometimes, especially in our textbook, the author comes up with some clever titles. Okay? They're kind of fun. They're kind of neat. But they don't just outright say, this is about this geometry thing. He's using other words. Okay? For example, 1.2, the one after the one you look, is called tool room math. Tool room math. What could that possibly be about? Right? It doesn't tell you which geometry bits are there. If you don't already know, you'll have to read it and find out. So that's why you should stop and think about, okay, what do I think is going to be in here? And then from Monday, or that reading key, what do I already know about this topic? This is the building blocks of geometry. Hey, have I studied this before? Do I remember those from earlier? Maybe you do. Start the juices flowing, right? You don't have to take long on it, But as soon as you ask your brain, hey brain, can go find the files on this topic that I have already, and then as you read, your brain will do the work for you. It'll be like, oh, hey, I found this thing. Remember this from 4th grade? Like, ooh, this one has the same shape as that there on the page, and your brain will start filling things in. It's amazing. All right, similarly, after the whole title, step 2, skim the whole section. Flip through real quick. Don't read all the paragraphs, but look at like the section titles. Look at how it's structured. Okay, I've got 2 pages here. Looks about 6 paragraphs. Oh, there's a subheading there. Right? Find those things. Look for those big ideas. Right? Now you can start to answer, what is the central question? At least get an initial version. Maybe you'll go back and edit it later. But at this point, create a central question for the section. And again, think about, what is the author expecting me to already know? I already asked what I think I already know. What does the author seem to already expect of me based on the bits I've seen so far? And then, after that thought, which, again, takes a minute, 2 tops. Now you can start step 3, reading carefully, taking the notes in that right side of the Cornell notes. All of these things, vocabularies, diagrams, graphs, examples, theorems, formulas, anything with that, add that to your notes. That's good stuff. Definitely put it in there. That's not an exhaustive list. There might be other things. If you note an important fact, I didn't put names in there because this is math class, not history class. We typically don't quiz you on the names of the people that invented this stuff, but maybe you're interested in that and you want to write that down. Write and draw as you go, as we said yesterday. Yeah. The write with a pencil? No. Yeah. Read with a pencil, writing and drawing as you go. Okay. And then you should be thinking, every once in a while, how does this connect to what I already know? Now that your brain has been primed and is starting to pull that stuff up, start forming those connections. This links here. This links there. If you practice making a conscious effort, say, hey, brain, I want you to do this. After a few weeks, this will start happening automatically. You want to develop it into a habit so that when you read something, your brain is automatically doing this work. Oh, yep, I dug it. Oh, that reminds me, I've got this thing here from 5th grade, right? Looks like the same stuff. Like, oh, yes, I remember 5th grade, good times. As well as, how does this help you answer the central question? Because that'll be your goal at the very end, is to answer that question. And then after you've done all that, fill in the whole right side. Do it entirely filled in, finish the section. Then go back to the top, start the summarize and question on the left side. This is where you'll create your cues, right? Use those section headings, your vocabulary, big ideas. Pull those out to that column so that you make kind of an index table of contents of your notes, right? And then any questions that come to mind as you review. Anything you're wondering about, or anything you think, oh, this would make a good question. And if you can think of a good topical question, what are the 3 essential pieces of geometry? Okay, write that down so that when you review, in a week, you will read that and be like, wow, that is a good question. What were those things again? Right? You can quiz yourself. That's the beauty of it. You write those questions in the left column, you can cover up the right column that has all the answers. Quiz yourself. Can you answer those questions? And then are there any that you still have unanswered? Maybe you'll do some further research. These would be great questions to bring into class and bring up for discussion. Say, hey, teacher, I was reading about the point line planes thing and talked about stretching to infinity. What happens if something has infinite length, width, and thickness? Right? The plane only had 2, but what do we call it if it has all 3? Oh, that's an excellent question. I'm so glad you asked. Right? And then finally, the final summary, way at the bottom. Done later. Later. This is a critical step that will help you remember stuff. If I was to remake this, I would probably add like a step 4.5, right in between. Take a break. Seriously, do it. You'll thank me later. Take a break. After you filled in the left side, don't go down to the bottom. Take a break. Stop. Take 10 minutes. Do something else. Go get a snack. Okay, come back. After your brain has had a little bit of time to rest and think about something else, switch back, review, and summarize. That break in time, forcing your brain to stop and then come back to it, reinforces the memory of all of that information. Okay? So if you do that summary later, have it percolating in the back of your mind for a minute, then bring it back forward. It'll be even stronger. And if you do it right, you won't even need to review the notes again. Okay? The beauty of the Cornell notes is when it comes to review, you could read just the left side, add a question at the top, summary at the bottom, and your brain will fill in the rest. It'll be like, oh yeah, I remember when we created these. It has all this, and here's all the stuff, and it'll just come right to you. But you have to take the time when you make it in the first place. Okay, I've thrown a lot at you. Any questions here? Questions there? Okay, then I've got two more things. One, a quiz is on Cornell Notes. And then two, I will leave you to start creating your own version. I'll come back. That's the one. All right, here we go. JoinMyQuiz.com. Your game code is 864757. 864757. Now, this is not specific to the math version of Cornell Notes. This is generic. Hey, what is this section called? What do you use? What do you write here? What do you write there? If you're familiar with Cornell Notes, you'll probably know all these answers already. If not, this is your chance to learn some of this. Not feel bad for getting questions wrong now. Retake code will be posted after school. You'll have the rest of the week to improve that score. Or for those of you watching the YouTube video at home, you missed the live rendition, use the retake code to take it for the first time and actually get a score on the board. You can retake as many times as you need. Reach for that 100%. I've got 9, 10, 11. So we'll go 30 more seconds. All right, here we go. and overall, I'm impressed. You guys really have done Cornell notes before. Do watch out for, there's a couple questions that are a check all that apply. Very good, very good. If you are finished, go ahead and start on creating your notes for section 1.1. That chapter is attached to the classroom post. You can use the Cornell note template. If you want to open that up with the Kami editor and put your notes in it that way, you can do that as well, and then save that. Print that off at a later time, or you can print the template and handwrite the notes on that page, or you can just block off portions on your notebook paper and create it from scratch. Everything on the page. Ah, there it is. All right, nicely done, Giselle. Let's see, what were the tricky questions? All that apply, yeah. Yeah. As I select all that apply, always trips people up. That's okay. Five more minutes. Should probably be done with steps 1 and 2 at this point. Those go pretty quick. You'll be working your way through step 3, getting and taking the notes.